some people try to use the phrase, let me be a devil's advocate to sort of, try to oftentimes steelman the other position or try to sort of defend the other position to sort of, I think, sort of try to steelman it. But when this UK law firm has decided to defend Hamas or basically represent Hamas in the UK courts, I don't think this is the way they are thinking about it, despite what they say, and we might go a little bit into that. Uh, Welcome to the reality show. Besides that, if we have time, we'll also cover another topic, which is Steve Witkoff has commented a bit about how the Iranian deal is proceeding and how it's going to be Obama deal 2.0, and it might not be any different in any shape or form. Joining me today is Anders Ingemarson, and we should also have Mark Pellegrino joining us in just a few minutes or so. And also already thank you, PC, for your super chat. He says their Facebook page vanished today. So again, the British law firm is called Riverway Law. And yeah, I think some people were talking about reporting their Facebook page, and we'll go through some of the things they have said on social media. And when you hear it, you will start to understand the fact that they have been completely deplatformed or are starting to get deplatformed. So also joining us, Mark. Hey, Mark. And since you just joined, I'll immediately go to you. Uh, so yeah, there's this. Now I'm wondering if you got fully the topic. There's this. Wait, did you get the topic, Mark?
Maybe. And start talking. Let me see.
All right, so I'll go to Anders first, and then Mark can
Okay.
catch up. So yeah, I mean, Anders. So there is this group. Basically, Hamas is trying to appeal to the British court, saying, you know, not even necessarily denying that there are terrorist organization, but saying that they shouldn't be a designated terrorist organization by the UK courts. And we'll go into some of their arguments or what they say, which is almost everything is a lie. But yeah, Anders, what do you make of that?
Well, it's obviously just well, I don't know if it's a propaganda stunt, but I mean, it's consistent with how Hamas has presented itself over the past however many years, they've been in existence. It's Yeah, it gets kind of tiresome. I'm sure there are people out there who are in their bubbles who buy into this. We have discussed that many times here, but if you have any kind of sense of history here, you know that it's just a bogus claim. I just Googled or actually used an AI engine to asking for give me a list of all known Hamas terrorist attacks in the past, and they listed something from 2000 only, but it was a page that probably had 50 entries, and I'm sure they didn't catch all of them. So, but fundamentally, obviously, they make the case that Palestinians are the victims here, and Israel is the offender, who are committing genocide. And yeah, some people buy into that. If you don't have a clear view of who is representing Western civilization and the values that we stand for, the rational values that Western civilization stands for. If you know that, I mean, there is, despite its shortcoming as a country, Israel is the country you would support in this case.
Yeah, so I'll go to you, Mark, but let me first read a few things. So, senior Hamas official has Musa Abu Marzouk has submitted a lengthy witness report to the British courts, where he talked about how Hamas is this Palestinian Islamic liberation and resistance movements whose goal is to liberate Palestine and confront the Zionist project. Again, Zionist project means Israel, all of Israel. And when you might say, well, maybe they just want to bring the 67 borders. I mean, they might not be like that crazy. But a little bit later, he says Hamas rejects any alternative to the full and complete liberation of Palestine. from the river to the sea. Again, this is in their not necessarily a court filing, but basically a witness statement to the courts saying that they shouldn't be a designated terrorist organization. And in that, they say they want to destroy the state of Israel. I mean, Mark, it's almost like controlled opposition. Like like I just need to quote these people, and it should be apparent how evil this is. Yet in one case, you have actual British law firm trying to stand up for them, and people standing up for the British law firm. What this is not even fifth column at this point. What do you even call this amount of complete rejection of Western values?
Call it the UK. Yeah, the UK has gone completely off its nut over the last 10 years, and specifically since October 7th, we've been able to see exactly how much of their population has been co-opted by this narrative, this pro-Palestinian narrative that has no historical truth to it whatsoever, and is perpetuated by a great deal of anti-Semitism. Now, this lawyer who's bringing up this case has a long history of supporting terrorist organizations, verbally, online, in articles that the guy writes. He's clearly a supporter of a retrograde and violent Islamicist movement. And in my opinion, not only should this case be tossed out because it has no merits, this guy should be disbarred. I don't know what the equivalent of that is in the UK, but he's clearly a bad faith actor. And it's not, we say in free societies that you're guilty until proven innocent, and that everybody has the right to a trial, and that there should be a presumption of innocence. But there's no presumption of innocence in the case of Hamas. We know exactly where they stand. Their goals have been very explicit. They explicitly call for the genocide of the Jewish people. They explicitly call for the eradication of the Jewish state. They explicitly use civilians as shields against military action, explicitly use civilian property to stage military actions from, which I think war itself is a crime, but which is a war crime by those who think war can be civil. So they've engaged in every type of behavior that a terrorist organization can possibly engage in. And there's no doubt in anyone's mind that this person is attempting to hijack the culture of the UK even further and to push it more into an Islamicist sympathizing culture. This guy needs to go. He needs to go. I think if he is he a citizen of the UK? So he can't be deported, but he certainly needs to go away and potentially spend jail time for dereliction of his fiduciary responsibility to uphold the law, for one, or protect innocent people from criminals, since he seems to be advocating for the criminal.
Yeah, I should correct. And I need to stop forgetting that we also do podcast version of this. So I shaked my head, or I approved when Mark asked if he is a citizen. I believe he's a citizen, but now I'm not sure. So I'll go to Anders and I'll check just to make sure on that. And to go to with so we'll also go to what this guy Fahad Ansari, there's basically there's three lawyers of that group that are leading this charge, but this guy is sort of at the head of it. And so just to give you a few more things to comment on from again specifically from the Hamas witness statement. They've also said that October 7, they actually Hamas only targeted military targets, or only was directed at military target, and that the targeting of civilians was marginal and done mainly by non-Hamas members, which Is not an excuse, by the way. I mean, the idea. I mean, imagine what would happen if Israel allowed like Israeli civilians just to go into Gaza and kill random people or do whatever they want. They wouldn't say, well, we didn't have any control with that. Like, you have an obligation to make sure your population doesn't just go around killing people because there's a hole in the fence. So again, trying to use that as an excuse is ridiculous. And they've also claimed that the United Kingdom is sort of complicit in the genocide against the Palestinians. And also, they've claimed that the group poses no threat to the United Kingdom. A reminder, British Israelis were kidnapped on October 7. So even this idea is completely thrown out of the window. But yeah, and there's any more comments on Hamas's witness statement?
Well, um, I think, I mean, in a way, I mean, everything you points out is, for those of us who are somewhat informed, it's all ridiculous, but I'm sure it kind of follows a pattern for Hamas, so we shouldn't be surprised to see it. Now, morally, obviously, we should condemn this in the strongest terms, and that's why we're here discussing it partly. And this lawyer, Fahad Ansari, to Mark's point, whether he should be debarred, I don't know what the rules are in Britain. And so legally speaking, I don't know what rules are in place there. When you designate some organization a terrorist organization, I mean, does that make someone who is an accomplice of those terrorist organizations, does it make them subject to treasonary charges at some point, and where do you draw that line? So that is something that would be interesting to know, because I mean, yes, he has a free speech right, I think, in Britain. He would have here in the US to advocate for what he's standing for, as abhorrent and as immoral as it is. But at some point, you wonder if we would come up against some charges of treason. I mean, what constitutes action in this context, etc. Would working to de-terrorist Hamas be considered that? So, and I obviously don't have those answers. Those are just questions that I think would be interesting to know a little bit more about.
Yeah, I mean, just on that fact, at the in the article I've read by the Telegraph, at the bottom of it, when Riverway Law was asked about the comment, they've said there is an established convention that lawyers shall not be identified with their clients or their clients' causes as a result of discharging their functions, precisely because it endangers lawyers for carrying out their duties. Any media outlet that continues to promote this narrative in relation to us is effectively placing a target on our back and knows it. And sort of in a civil society, I can really sort of see this point. The fact is, when you have courts, you'll have lawyers that will sort of everybody. Maybe I don't even want to say that everybody deserves a response. If you are so abhorrent that you cannot even get lawyer to represent you, there might be sort of a case against you there. But sort of everybody deserves a response, and that is the sort of goal of arriving objectivity. Even if somebody is guilty of a crime, you still want them to have a defense, because you can still have sort of improper punishment for a specific crime. Now, when it comes to him specifically picking that, I mean, there is a sort of like an interesting question of because again, Hamas is a designated terrorist organization by the UK. If and so one of the reasons is actually that he takes the case pro bono, because if he took money for the case, he would be sort of liable for that, because he would be taking money from a terrorist organization. So there is like a sort of interesting question of how we go about when sort of you have a designated terrorist organization, and at what point do you get rid of that designation? I mean, that should most likely be in the purview of government itself, but sort of lawyers coming in. I don't. I'll go to you, Mark, about what you think about this. But I'm not necessarily even attacking sort of him doing this on its own. But when you look into his background, I think that's much more interesting about sort of the motivations of him doing that. His motivations for doing that is not some sort of, I want to make sure law is objective. I want to make sure everybody gets their chance. No, it's he is defending Hamas because he is supporting a terrorist organization like Hamas. So, Mark?
Yeah, what gets me is that why did it take the UK so long to declare Hamas a terrorist organization? I mean, they banned Hamas from their shores in like 2001 or something, but it took them till 2024 to declare Hamas a terrorist organization. Did they need October 7th in order to shock them into the reality that this organization that summarily tortures and oppresses its own people and fires rockets daily into Israeli civilian areas, and foments intifada and suicide bombers to cross the borders into Israel to murder people, that foments stabbings and beatings and foments, you know, the days of rage where Palestinian people can run Jews over with cars and hack them to death with meat cleavers. I mean, this is not a matter of our imaginations. It's something it's recorded. It's recorded. It's archived. You see it on security cameras. I mean, incident after incident after incident of these people motivated by Hamas to murder Jews. Let's not forget that their charter itself calls for the eradication of Jews. Yeah, they modified it in 2017, so that they sort of took out the genocidal element of it. But it's there. It's still a part of their philosophy. And since October 7th, they've maintained that they're going to continue operating on that same philosophy. They're going to continue to attack Israel until they get what they want, which is not a Palestinian state, but the eradication of the Jewish state. Period. Their terms are explicit. Their leaders, there's recordings on video, on television shows in Arabic of their leaders making these proclamations. There's documents of their beliefs and their means and ends. They created with the billions of dollars that were sent to them around the world, from the European Union to the United States, rather than creating a new Riviera on the Mediterranean. What they decided to do was turn Gaza into an armed camp. And that's basically what they did, was they militarized an entire state for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to defeat Israel, to destroy the Jews, to murder them. There's nothing that any lawyer could say, even if it was Clarence Darrow, for crying out loud, or Perry Mason, who could defend these guys and change the reputation from a designated terrorist group, which they are, to something else. So I question the motives of this. It's just more PR playing. The Palestinian movement, the pro-Palestinian movement is doing everything in their power to delegitimize Israel, and this is just one more way to delegitimize Israel, by pretending that the Palestinian movement, and if they could get another legal sanction by another legal authority, which they love citing the ICC, they love citing the UN, because they consider these folks authorities, and if they can get another legal authority on their side to win another law case that they could throw before the public on their PR machine, that look, it's not even a designated terrorist organization anymore. They're really just freedom fighters. It's just more grist for the mill as far as they're concerned. And so, I mean, this guy is guilty of anything of malpractice. I mean, I don't think they have the same free speech laws in England as they do in America. There's definitely no protections for free speech. You can actually be arrested for the things that you say on social media in England. Why this guy hasn't been arrested for his cheerleading of terrorist organizations, I don't know. Why this isn't considered bad faith and a disbarable offense right now, considering the massive record that Hamas has left in its wake for its unapologetic terrorist actions, I don't know. This guy he's a fraud, like are frauds, like the Palestinian movement is frauds, and the sooner people come to realize that, the better.
So, just to provide some information about sort of why all of Hamas was not considered a terrorist or was not a designated terrorist organization by the UK, as well as I think by the EU and a few more, is that it was specifically the Al-Aqsa brigades, the sort of the military wing of Hamas that I think by almost all Western nations has been a designated terrorist organization. The reason why many were hesitant to declare war of Hamas is because Hamas is the governing authority of Gaza. If you designate Hamas, all of Hamas, as a terrorist organization, you cannot deal with them in any way, at least according to most law I sort of seen, is basically both the individuals, so nobody in the UK could basically send any money to Hamas specifically, which is the government of Gaza. So the only way they would be able to do it is through UNRWA or through some other sort of NGOs, which this is sort of like the, I guess, pragmatic explaining, and it's all wrong, of course. That like that shouldn't be like no money should go into Gaza because they will support Hamas itself. They will, because there is no aid, and that is also the big problem with any sort of aid going into some of the African nations where a military dictatorship is in power. Any money going there, it will end up in the hands of the dictatorship. You simply cannot go around that. Anders, do you want to jump in, or should we go into what this guy has been saying?
Let's go into what he's been saying.
Well, first we have a few super chats. So first, thank you, PC. He says the law firm's site is up still. They have the property rights of that. We have a super chat from PC. Again, thank you so much. He says they're being investigated by the body that oversees lawyers in the UK and can remove their license.
Good.
I mean, that will be interesting to follow. Just to quickly, because Mark, you also said about the sort of free speech in the UK. So of course, UK has nothing similar to the First Amendment, and they have a few hate speech laws on the books, such as I think one sort of part of the hate speech is basically if you inspire racial hatred, that is potentially something you could be tried for and go into prison for, which in America would definitely be protected speech, I think, but in the UK is not, and a few people have been arrested for that. Could we get this guy on the same thing? Well, we'll go into what he has said. So first, as I mentioned, they're making it pro bono because they cannot be paid by a terrorist organization. Now, when they were asked about Hamas, a few things they've said is Hamas is the only effective military force resisting and seeking to end and prevent the ongoing acts of genocide and crimes against humanity being committed by the Zionist state against the Palestinians in Gaza. So I'm not quoting Hamas here. I'm quoting a British lawyer calling Israel the Zionist state. That is like the sort of Palestinian sort of Hamas speak, that they cannot even refer to Israel by its name. They always refer to it as the Zionist entity. I mean, props to them. They at least said that it's a state, which is something Hamas doesn't even do. It's always just an entity. It's not even an actual state. They've also said Hamas does not deny that its actions fall within the wide range of terrorism under the Terrorism Act 2000. So I guess the problem is that terrorism is too wide of a definition. Continuing, instead, it notes that the definition also covers all groups and organizations around the world that use violence to achieve political objectives, including the Israeli armed forces, the Ukrainian army, and indeed the British armed forces. And,
Wait a minute. I have to stop that right there. The fly in the ointment is using violence to achieve political objectives. It's not using violence to achieve political objectives. It's using violence explicitly and specifically against citizens. innocent
Civilians.
civilians to achieve political objectives. Now, did they leave that part out on purpose? Because of course, leaving that part out is what then puts every military in the world under the umbrella of this definition now. Because of course, even a defensive action like the IDF defending its country is it's trying to achieve political ends. It's trying to take out a political opponent that's trying to destroy it. That is a political. All wars have political ends in addition to practical military ends. So he's trying to broaden the definition in such a way as to incorporate all violence, including defensive violence, and lump it into the same category. That's just simply disingenuous. That's legal malpractice. That's playing rhetorical games in order for your client to win. How ugly is that? This guy has to go.
Now, I am not that well versed in the British law and specifically the the sort of examples of this law, and I'm wondering if he actually has a point. And then the problem is, of course, with the law, not with what he's saying. But according to the Terrorism Act of 2000, the definition of terrorism is the use or threat of action designed to influence the government or to intimidate the public or a section of the public, and the use of threat is made for the purpose of advancing a political, religious, racial, or ideological cause. Now, according to that definition, I mean, again, you can sort of like play around with it. But yeah, Anders, what do you make of both? Sort of like this definition, sort of trying to put any army under that definition, which again, if they are true that any sort of army would be a terrorist organization. That is a problem with the law that the UK should work on. But again, that's not their goal is not sort of like legal consistency.
No, I mean they're obviously obfuscating the issue completely here by drawing parallels between valid military action and terrorist action. So I mean, by their standard, then would the Allied forces in World War II fall under that same definition? Because we were defending Western values against totalitarian regimes. So it's
Well, they've said the British Armed Forces would fall under the definition. So
well,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know how far back they go, but probably, I mean, you can definitely probably they would include examples from the colonial era, that would fit right in there. But yeah, what else? I think it's important for us here to continue to hammer home the differences, as Mark just did, and to point out that there is a clear. I mean, number one, there is such a thing as a moral society, and there are immoral societies, and if you use military force to defend yourself, if you are on the moral side and you do that to defend yourself against the immoral forces, just like Ukraine is doing today, defending itself against Russia, and many other examples throughout history, those are the things. That's how you combat this in the long run. You have to draw the lines. You have to point out and show the contradictions and the inconsistencies in their argument here.
Somebody in the chat says if he was just doing his job, the only comment he'd have on this issue is no comment. Well, that is pretty much what they are, sort of how they are appearing right now. Everything we'll read is pretty much something they've said in the past, just to give you sort of some picture about who these people are. So let's go to Fahad Ansari. Again, he's the one leading this group of three. Just a few few of his tweets. So one thing he did, he basically posted a tribute to the leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, after he died, saying he was martyred and he endured a lifelong struggle for the liberation of his people. Again, a leader of a terrorist organization committing terrorist acts not only against Israelis, but using his own people as for terrorist act, using children of Palestinians to attack Israelis, to fight against Israelis. Another thing he said is Eid Mubarak to everyone celebrating, especially the courageous Palestinian mujahideen who continue to resist the Western-backed Israeli genocide entirely on their own. You are the pride of this ummah. May you celebrate Eid one day in a fully liberated Palestine. So he's calling for violence. He is straight up calling for violence against Israelis. Uh, I mean, what kind of lawyer does that? What kind of lawyer does not even that sort of like tired, like from the French President Macron saying, "Oh, we need to find a political peaceful solution to this." No, he's straight up saying, "No, no, no, we need to kill Jews. Like that's the only way out." And the people who do that, like Hamas, are the brave mujahideen. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is corrupt on the face of it. He's corrupt. And he has left, luckily for us, a trail of evidence that suggests that he's biased, corrupt, evil, and it doesn't have the capacity to stand as a solicitor in the country of the UK. He's a bad man who doesn't hold the values, whatever those maybe. We assume the values of the UK are somewhat similar to American values, that you have a basic right to your life and liberty and pursuit of happiness. And this is not the orientation that he's coming from. And at minimum, the guy should be disbarred. He's a bad faith actor. He should not be allowed to practice law in that country. And if he's not a citizen, he should be deported. Plain and simple. Once, of course, they find him guilty in a court of law. And we have to maintain due process, and he should get a shot at trying to convince a jury that he's not an evil terrorist supporter. But by all accounts, he is a terrorist sympathizer, and he's working for a terrorist organization now to try to get them legitimized in the eyes of the UK. And I mean, the UK is culturally going downhill, and I think that lots of people have seen it over the past 5 to 10 years. The UK is losing its sense of reason, general sense of reason, and giving into these forces of nihilism. Let's just hope this guy isn't the final straw.
Yeah, and you mentioned about how he left the sort of the trail. It's not even trail. Like he didn't delete anything he said. Like everything I'm reading is still on his X. Even the next thing I'm reading, and it sort of reminds me of. I'm not sure if you guys seen the movie The Big Short, but it reminds me of the scene where they are talking to some people who sell. I'm not sure if real estate or specifically sell mortgages, and they are outwardly saying that they are defrauding people. And one of the characters is asking, why are they confessing? Why are they confessing to like the crimes they are doing? And somebody said, no, they are not confessing. They are bragging. And this is what he's doing. He is sort of, I don't want to call it pride, because this is nothing close to pride, but he is sort of boastful about his terrorism support.
That
Just
should be
to
an automatic disqualifier because he's not even aware that he's doing evil. So let's just call this man's moral compass into question. There's not even practical reasons for him to do this. It's not like he's trying to increase his reputation amongst his population, yada yada, whatever personal power motivations a person may have. This guy's completely unconscious of the evil that he's advocating. That makes him even more culpable, more responsible for these atrocities, and makes him less capable of being considered a real advocate, a real solicitor. Guy's clearly nuts. Crazy people don't try to hide their crimes,
yeah,
right?
and
He clearly thinks he's doing right, and that makes him a little bit off.
yeah, it sort of reminds me of how sort of Nazis kept the record of everything they did because they were not sort of afraid that somebody would find out. They didn't care. They were proud of the actual genocide they were committing. Just to read sort of one more tweet where a hostage is being talked about in the tweet. This is somebody else posting, and he quoted it. So this is what was in the tweet itself. She woke up half naked, surrounded by 7 Hamas terrorists. Israeli hostage Ilana Gritsovsky revealed the horrors she endured in captivity. During her abduction, she was taken on a motorcycle between 2 terrorists. One pressed her leg against the scorching exhaust pipe, while the other shoved his hand under her skirt, groping her. She passed out before even reaching Gaza. When she woke up, she was lying on the ground, her shirt lifted, her pants pulled down, and 7 Hamas terrorists standing over her. She told them she was on her period, and now quoting, I felt like they were disappointed. I had never been so grateful in my life. One terrorist put a gun to her head and told her that he wouldn't release her. Instead, he would, in quote, marry her and have children with her. And this guy responded to that saying, how long did her period actually last? Basically asking when was she actually raped. So that's the sort of actual disgusting thing. And I checked just before the show. He still has this tweet up. It's you cannot like if there is anything that sort of shouldn't be covered under free speech, although probably is even under UK law. But this should disqualify, sort of like civilly. This guy should starve to death. Nobody who sees that should sell this guy any food. Should want to engage with him in any way. And the fact that this guy is like a lawyer and sort of like a respected lawyer who is invited on shows, who is invited on sort of BBC, different kind of shows to ask for his opinion, is simply really scary about the state of, if not the West, at least of the UK. We have one more topic, so we'll go to that. But before that, Anders, any last thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would be curious. I haven't followed this case in detail, but I would be curious about the public reaction in the UK to this, if it gets any reaction, or if it is, we're talking about the cultural decline here, that what is the position of the British people on Hamas? Do they think it should be a terrorist organization or not? I mean, what are the percentages here? Does he have support for his stance? I don't know. Maybe some of your super chatters who are in the UK can comment on that. But I mean, we know from other cases that politicians, especially, have been bending to Islamist influence over the last 10, 20, however many years in the UK. And is this just another case of it where they will do that, or will we actually see action taken in this case?
Yeah, and sort of a few UK groups have already came out in support of this group. So we'll have to see where this will continue. Mark, any last thoughts on this topic before we move on?
No, just get this guy out of here. Fire him. Disbar him. Shun him.
We'll see where that will go. We also have a super chat from PC. Thank you so much. He says, I do not recommend the UK as a good place to live in. Just last week I was in London. I still like London a lot. So maybe London can, well, although London is not in that better shape politically than the rest of the country. But maybe we can get the best people from the UK into London and sort of separate London from the rest of the UK. Although it really is kind of London is the center of it, unfortunately. But it's a really nice city. Just a reminder, if you guys want to reach out to Riverway Law, you can find their email at info@riverwaylaw.com. So make sure to reach out. Of course, no death threats. I'm not calling for any sort of unlawful things. Just, if you want to give them a heads up about what you think about them. Let's go to Witkov. So as we know, Trump wants a deal with Iran. Now in the same breath, he says if the deal is not formed, he would not hesitate to bomb Iran. But let's listen to Witkoff, who is handling the negotiations. And I have to make sure I have the right video.
And will the deal include things that maybe are out of the box that people aren't thinking about now? I would imagine Vladimir Putin probably would want to be in business with the U.S. and with Europe. Is that a potential that could come out of this?
There's no doubt about it. I mean, this.
And that was not the right clip, so I'll have to go look for that, but I need time for that. So I'll go to you, Anders, first. Just something also important to bring up, which I'm not sure that we did, is that Iran actually asked for Witkoff to handle the Iranian negotiations. With Trump's original plan was, of course, Secretary of State, the chief diplomat, or the sort of the second chief diplomat, to sort of handle the negotiations. And Iran said, no, we want Witkoff. And apparently the big America has bended to the will of some random Middle Eastern dictatorship.
Yeah, well, it makes sense for Iran to request Witkoff because of his excellent work in Moscow a little while ago here. So they seem to be knowing what they're doing. Now, I'm not going to try to second guess Donald Trump's next move here because it's just a waste of time. It's futile. I've seen headlines and speculations that they will make the mistake of basically implementing an Obama deal again, Obama-style deal with Iran. They are talking about, that now that they can't have nuclear weapons, which doesn't preclude them from having nuclear installations for civilian purposes, and for that they don't need to refine it beyond a certain point. This is all, total pragmatist Trumpian deal making that probably will not end well. When we all know that the right action here would be for the U.S. to take out Iran's military installations, including the nuclear installations, once and for all. Probably also their energy producing and distributing facilities, and then hope that the Iranian people rise up and create a better life for themselves. I mean, because this is, as we know, that this is what would cut the heads off the Hydra. It would disable Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, and all those other terrorist organizations. We've talked about that multiple times on the reality show in the past. But that obviously is a principled stance that is beyond the current administration. So I'll leave it at that and see what Mark has to say.
I'll go to you, Mark, but let's actually first watch what Witkoff has said.
This message of peace through strength, it resonates throughout the world. This is not a threat on my part now. It is just a simple fact. The president means what he says, which is they cannot have a bomb. The conversation with the Iranians will be much about two critical points. One, enrichment. As you mentioned, they do not need to enrich past 3.67%. In some circumstances, they're at 60%. In other circumstances, 20%. That cannot be. And you do not need to run, as they claim, a civil nuclear program where you're enriching past 3.67%. So this is going to be much about verification on the enrichment program, and then ultimately verification on weaponization. That includes missiles, the type of missiles that they have stockpiled there, and it includes the trigger for a bomb.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, the question for you, obviously, I wasn't, when I was like 7, I wasn't as much into politics as I'm now, so I wasn't watching the Obama deal. But what is the difference between this proposed thing from Witkoff and Obama's nuclear deal with Iran?
I don't know. I don't know. I know the Obama administration claims that, or at least Bill Maher claimed that the deal with Iran got them to eliminate something like 85% of their, you know, upgraded nuclear material. That's probably a load of crap and irrelevant. Iran can make no claims at all. I mean, to me, they are an illegitimately constituted government. Any government that is predicated on the use of violence against their own citizens and oppression against their own citizens, that is not founded on individual rights, can make no claims to sovereignty or rights of any kind. And we have a right to go in there and do what we think is appropriate to affect the safety of our country. And the safety of our country right now is dependent upon destroying Iran's capacity to do anything more on the world stage and to effect a coup of the liberal elements of that society over the quote unquote conservative religious fanatics that now hold control. I could not agree with Anders more. You take out their capacity to deliver oil. They know exactly where all that capacity exists. It would take an afternoon to completely decimate that, probably less with our ordinance, and they would be immediately financially hamstrung. They would be immediately finished. And then you can go after the nuclear facilities, and there should be no negotiation. There shouldn't be a talk. They're not worthy of negotiating. That puts them as the moral equals of us. And there's not a degree of difference between us. It's not just a matter of degrees of difference while we agree fundamentally on principles. We fundamentally disagree. Their principles are antithetical to ours. Ours are antithetical to theirs. And there can be no compromise between the two. As Rand said many times, a compromise between good and bad. Bad always wins. And but Trump is under the delusion that you can somehow make deals with anybody, irrespective of what their premises are, because he doesn't even know what premises are. So yeah, there should be no negotiation. I'm for hardcore establishment of the only thing that Iran understands, and that is overwhelming force to completely disable them.
Yeah, and again, it's not like even they are tough. Israel was able to alone kill all of their the air defenses easily with no casualties on the Israeli side. It was able to defend itself against 2 attacks from Iran. Again, well, I think with one of them there was one casualty, a Palestinian casualty at that. But yeah, so like the West is so incredibly strong in sort of the raw numbers, but our meekness, or I don't know what to call it, our inability to actually use that strength, not for some crazy invade Canada or Greenland things, but in like protect the American citizens, protect the American interest, and finally end the regime in Iran, which we have been when Iran was founded, they started it by actually declaring war on Iran, in effect, and we refused to ever recognize it. We tried a deal with North Korea, it didn't work, and now we cannot deal with North Korea because they have nuclear weapons. We tried the deal with Iran, it didn't work. They kept enriching the uranium even beyond the capacity, despite the fact that the deal was in place. And as if any international deal, it cannot really be enforced. I mean, there is no enforcement mechanism beyond force, beyond actually going there and making sure they do it. You can send inspectors there, but that's about it. And what do you do when they say no, they will not uphold the deal? Will Trump actually, if the deal is not upheld, will he actually go into Iran and finally
Well,
put an end to?
what did he do when he gave Hamas something like 24 or 72 hours to return all the hostages. Did Hamas do that? He claimed that there was going to be hell to pay. And
Well, sorry, Mark. Which time? Because he said they had to be returned by the time he got elected. Then he said they have to be returned
yeah.
by the time he
So
comes into
so we
office.
see that he's everybody. Look, a lot of the Republicans pick this guy because one, he's unpredictable, and two, he does what he says. You know, they think that he's a tough guy. They think he's a tough guy from Queens. But every time I've seen him deal with Hamas, he says the gloves are coming off and the gloves stay on. What he does is he passes the buck to Israel and says, "Go ahead and do what you want." So even then, he's full of shit. I mean, if he really meant it, he would be sending aircraft carriers into the Red Sea, into the Mediterranean, and he would say, "All right, this is it. You have 72 hours to return the hostages, or we are going to end you." But nobody has the political will to do that because remember, war has to be civil. War has to be sanitized. We don't like the ugliness of war. And so, even though we're trying to end Hamas, the fact that innocent civilians would die is too much of a political price to pay for Trump. As much as he pretends to be a maverick and he pretends that political prices don't mean anything to him, they do. They do. He's full of crap. I mean, how many times do you have to negotiate with criminal dictatorships and come out on the losing end and them not deliver what they say they're going to deliver for you to understand that you can't deal with criminal dictatorships anymore through negotiation. You can only deal with them in the language they understand, which is violence. Sorry.
And just to clarify,
so he's projecting enormous weakness to the world through his actions. We talk about how there is no consistency, there are no principles in this, but you could actually say that in the area of foreign policy, the implicit principle is a show of weakness. As much as he's talking, I mean, he's not walking the talk in 1 ounce, and it doesn't matter whether you talk Russia, whether you talk Iran or North Korea or China, for that matters. There's just a lot of talking, and so far he hasn't taken any action that would back up his whatever his utterances were.
Yeah, I mean, whenever he is asked about anything, he just makes sure to blame Biden. I mean, Trump is getting old. Maybe it's sort of getting to him, but we really are seeing very little sort of the things, even the little things, the sort of better things that we were promised. The fact is that while the sort of actions in Gaza have escalated, we are nowhere near to sort of figuring out what's happened. Another fact is that despite having Marco Rubio as a Secretary of State, who would normally sort of handle a lot of the diplomatic things, and I think he is sort of one of the better parts of the Trump administration, although the fact that he hasn't resigned yet, I think he lost all sort of credibility he even had before. And somebody like Witkoff, who is most likely in the pocket of Qataris, is instead dealing not only with Hamas, not only with Iran, but also with Russia, despite being the special envoy to Middle East itself. So with that, Mark, any last thoughts? What do you think we can expect when it comes to Iran, and also where can people find and follow you?
I think we can expect more of the same waffling, more of the same kicking the can down the road. I think Israel is going to finally have to do something. So they may be pushed into eliminating the nuclear program of Iran before America does anything. They certainly did it with Iraq, and we owe them a debt of gratitude to that can almost never be paid back. And I think they may be in that situation with Iran, even though they've pretty much did something even worse. They exposed Iran for being a paper tiger. And Iran really, I think, got off on intimidating the world with its supposed strength in Hezbollah. They expose both of those organizations as being completely vapid, militarily weak, and incapable of taking on a power even the size of Israel. But I think when push comes to shove, America is going to keep doing the same old things, making the same old mistakes. And if anything is going to get fixed in that region, it's going to be up to Israel, because their lives literally depend on it. Ours don't. And if you want to find me on Mark Arch Pellegrino on X. If you want to fight with me or not, I'm game for both. You can go for my pretty dog pictures though on Mark Ross Pelly on Instagram, much more friendly vibe there. And you can visit AmericanCapitalistParty.org, read our platforms, join up, donate, become a part of the real revolution, the real American revolution that's happening right under the noses of the establishment. So why don't you guys become a part of the real change, be the new sons of liberty?
And Anders, any last thoughts, and where can people find you?
Yeah, just again, the pragmatism and the arbitrariness of the current administration is, projecting an enormous weakness to our enemies around the world, and to our friends for that matter, who are slowly considering abandoning us. And I obviously don't have a crystal ball, but it doesn't look good right now. So we'll see where it goes. And you can find me on my Substack, andersingemarson.substack.com. And my book, Think Right or Wrong, Not Left or Right, is available at an Amazon outlet near you.
And we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Daily Objective, as well as a live reality show on debunking the Nakba. So make sure to check out that. It's already scheduled. With that, thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you everybody for watching, and bye-bye.
Thank you.